Hi everyone, happy Wednesday. It's Sierra again from Adventures of Room 129, and it's Wednesday, which means Adventures in Comprehension. I cannot believe that it is March and I have only missed 1 week. And it was the week that I got the flu. So we have been going live every single Wednesday for the entire 2019 and talking all things comprehension. And I don't know about you, but I'm loving this. I'm loving being able to spend time with all the teachers out there, giving them some really great content that they can take back to their classrooms right away. I'm loving the feedback that I'm getting from teachers telling me that they're loving, all the things that they're learning and they're being able to implement the information right away. It's just a wonderful time. I look forward to Wednesday every week. It's not my favorite day of the week. So hello. Great. Hope you're having a great day. Good evening. We're going to be talking about tonight. We're going to be talking about the importance of having open-ended questions, specifically in reading comprehension, of course. So I want to give everyone a few minutes to kind of trickle in here. I see Hope is here already. Hi, Hope. So glad you could join me tonight. I have a fantastic freebie for you for joining, so you're going to want to come and grab that, and you're going to want to hear everything that we have to say tonight. The conversation is only as good as, it's a two-way street. So the more the merrier. Please come and join us. We're going to have a great time tonight talking all about the importance of open-ended questions and how to use those specifically in reading comprehension. So when you get in here, once you get comfortable, make sure you drop me a comment. Let me know you're here. Say hi, what grade you teach, where you're from, and let's see, what do I want you to do? I'm trying to give you like a fun question to always answer instead of just always saying, hi, my name is, and I teach third grade. Let's see, I should have thought about this beforehand. I want you to tell me, what is your least favorite reading comprehension skill or strategy to teach? Your least favorite. So if you could drop that in the comments as well, that'll get some giggles going, I think. So let's see, my least favorite reading comprehension skill or strategy, what would mine be? Oh my gosh, I love comprehension so much, clearly, that it's really hard to pick one. I'm gonna have to say, point of view. Honestly, point of view. It's just, there's not a lot there for me to really dig in and get deep. So I just, I teach it and I talk about it clearly and, I do what I need to, but I just can't get that creative with it. And I think that's just one of the reasons why. So that's mine. Hope, I see yours is cause and effect. Oh, that one's a hard one because you could go cause and effect in fiction or nonfiction, and they can be very different. So yes, oh my goodness. Anyways, hi, welcome. Let me know if you're here and watching. We're going to go ahead and get started. Tonight we're talking about reading comprehension, specifically the importance of open-ended questions. And like I said, I have a really great freebie for you that not only has tons of great content and information that we're going to be talking about tonight, but also something that you can download and use right away in your classroom. So if you want to go ahead and grab that, the link is on the side. I never remember where the links are, so it's around there. I promise you, find it. But anyways, tonight you're going to walk away with not one, not two, not three, but 4 pages of open-ended questions, and they are already categorized for you by reading skill and strategy. Can I get an amen, right? So each skill or strategy is on the left-hand side, and there are 4 different questions that are very application type based, very open-ended, and very deep to really get the conversations going. So these are great to print out, laminate, and keep in your lesson plan book. That way when you're picking like essential questions for your lesson, or if you want to shrink these and put them on cards and kind of keep them at the front of the room while you're in discussion, if you want to just flip through them, there are a lot of different ways you can use these. So this is what you get tonight for joining. I hope you love them. They're yours, so enjoy. All right, so open-ended questions. When I am talking to teachers, questioning is like one of my very first go-to, because questioning is such a powerful strategy when we teach. I mean, that's what we do all day long as teachers, right? We have all those funny memes out there about the students, the kids asking all these questions. When they're in preschool and kindergarten, every child asks a minimum of whatever number of questions a day, times that by 30. Ha ha ha. What about the teacher? Hello, how many average of questions do we ask in a day? Like, that really needs to be the meme, because that's where it's at. That's what we do all day long, is we ask questions. And a lot of times we get into this rut of, I'm in so big of a rush because my schedule is so full and I have so much to do, that the questions that I'm asking aren't necessarily doing my teaching or my objective the justice it deserves. And so that's the kind of rut I'm wanting us to get out of. And that's the importance of asking those open-ended questions. And if you are like me, you will find that this is not something that comes naturally to you. Like, you may hit a gold mine every now and then when you're up in front of the classroom and you get a really great question that really gets that conversation going. However, a lot of times, especially when I videotape myself teaching and I go through and I reflect, and I'm kind of listening to the types of questions that I'm asking my class, 8 times out of 10, or even 9 times, 10 times out of 10, it's a closed question. And, I think I did a great job. This lesson went really well. But then when I go back and look at it, I'm like, I never asked a single open-ended question. So real quick, I just want to make sure everyone knows the difference. A closed question is a question that has one answer. And I call them the guess what's in my head answer, or type of question. So you ask a question and the student is basically guessing the answer that's in your head. And like, oh, right, good. And then you keep going, right? We're all guilty of doing that every single day. And there's a time and a place for it. There's nothing wrong with that. However, the meat, where you're going to get that deeper level of comprehension for your low students and your high students and everyone in the middle, is your open-ended comprehension questions. And so if you're like me, like I said, those don't come naturally to me. So what I had to do was train myself to plan out my questions, write them out in my lesson plan book, and I also wrote them up on the board at the beginning of my lesson. And yeah, I know that sounds blah, but I knew that was a weakness of myself as a teacher, after so many observations of me watching myself teaching. By the way, if you do not videotape yourself teaching, do it. It is so powerful. But anyways, that's another day. So when you are observing yourself and watching and reflecting and thinking about the questions that you're asking, and you noticing that the closed questions are flowing, but the open ones are not, you've got to train yourself. And you may know the questions. You may have got a great bank of questions in your brain, but are they coming out at the right time and the right opportunity? So I found that if I planned my questions and I made sure that they were visible to my students, and I called them essential questions, that it came more naturally. I was training myself that this is a priority. This is a priority in my lesson for reading comprehension every day, every lesson that we did. And when I started making sure that my focus was around the objective and this 1, 2, or sometimes 3 open-ended questions, then I found that the conversations were richer. I found that my students were engaged a lot more. We're going to kind of get to the benefits here in a minute. They were engaged a lot more. I found that my participation increased, and that the depth of understanding of my students also increased. So it had so many benefits, but I had to do the legwork for it. And so that's why I'm giving you this freebie tonight, because I want to make sure you're not having to sit at your lesson plan book and think and think and think. Like, okay, I have something in my eye, by the way. So if you see me going like this, I'm sorry. Whoop. If you're teaching summarizing and you're like, oh my God, what could be my essential question? What type of open-ended question could I ask? It's here for you. I at least got you started. So again, this is your freebie for tonight. You've got over 75 open-ended questions categorized by skill and strategy. That way you can find what you're teaching and go right across. And you've got 4 different questions for you right at your fingertips. So if you love these, let me know below in the comments. Okay, so like I said, this is definitely a weakness for me. This was something that I struggled in a lot, and I had to train myself. So once I did that and I started seeing the benefits, boy, did I shout it from the mountaintops, right? I made sure my teaching friends knew, guys, this is a game changer, period, end of story. It does not have to be some fancy lesson that I found on TBT. It doesn't have to be some awesome, room changer thing or whatever transformation that they're calling them. I got so much engagement just from asking open-ended questions, and the results that I got were so monumental that I knew this one little strategy could make or break not my teaching, but my students' results, okay? So in your freebie tonight, you're going to find, before you get to your open-ended questions, you're also going to find 2 pages beforehand. First page is just the cover, of course. And then technically it's the 3rd page. I've already listed out for you the benefits of open-ended questions. So everything that we're going to be talking about tonight is already laid out in your freebie for you. That way you can kind of take that back. And if you want to share these, of course, with colleagues and stuff, that's perfectly fine. But make sure that you're kind of spreading that knowledge, spreading that power, and letting people know that, guys, this is where it's at. So we're going to go through that list of benefits real quick, and then I'll, again, kind of walk you through what else is included in the freebie. So if you haven't yet, if you are sitting there watching me and you're like, ooh, I want to hear this, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear who is all listening. So I see Hope is here. Kylie is here. They're loving the freebie. I'm so excited. So let me know if you're watching and where you're from, what grade you teach. And I think I asked the question of, what is your least favorite reading comprehension skill or strategy? Mine, by the way, was point of view. So that was the fun question of the night. So we're going to jump into what are the benefits of truly asking open-ended questions. So number 1 is that when a teacher asks an open-ended question, it allows students more creativity in their answers and in their thinking. So it's not black and white. There's so much gray in the answer, so many possibilities, that students can really be creative with how they're thinking and how they're going to approach the answer, and then how they actually answer. So it's not just a 1 + 1 = 2 type of thing. They can go in so many different directions that the possibilities should almost be endless. Now, there are some open-ended questions that I realize, there's only like 5 maybe choices kind of thing, but the better questions that you ask, the better type of questions to ask are the ones that have almost an endless type of possibility, okay? So you want the students to have that spark of creativity in their thinking, and you're going to get that when you ask your open-ended questions. If I turn to my students and I say, who is the main character? Is there any type of spark there? No. But if I ask them, hey, how could you relate to this character? How are you and this character alike or different? Each child has their own schema, their own background knowledge, and their own connections that are vastly different from one another. And everyone has something to share. So we can easily do a stand up, hand up, pair up, share up, whatever that thing's called, or a turn and talk, or, whatever, to really get the conversation going. And you know what? Did they identify the main character? Yeah, because they had to in order to answer the question. So we see how the same objective is still being met, but in a deeper way. So you want to get that creative juices flowing. You want you want their thinking to be on the creative side to really make sure you're deepening their comprehension. Okay, so benefit number 2 is that scaffolding or differentiation, whatever you want to call it, for all abilities of students is naturally included in the question that you ask, okay? You do not have to have a separate piece of paper or a separate center or a separate activity to include all of your students. It's already there in the 1 2 or 3 questions that you have planned to ask. Because there is such a wide range of answers, if I'm maybe a lower student and I only know and understand a small part of the lesson, that small part is what I have to contribute to the conversation. So I have something to contribute. If I know a lot more about the topic or the objective that we're learning, then I have a lot more to give as well. But the point is, every single student has an opportunity to share something. Again, if I'm asking a very closed off question, so if I'm asking, I'm just going very basic, what's the genre of the text? If I don't know the genre, I have nothing to share. But if I'm asking a more open-ended question where there's a wide variety of answers and I have just a tiny bit, I have that much to share. And you know what? When we have those students who are a bit lower and they need confidence and they need that confidence to boost their participation, to boost their engagement, to boost their their verbal skills. I mean, there's so many other things that go along with that. I want them to share that little bit. So it's okay that they only know that much, because that much is all it might take to get them going in the conversation. So again, the scaffolding is very much included when you're asking those open-ended questions. So benefit number 3 is that students are engaged in the question instead of just the one student you're called on. And this is one of the duh ones, of course, I get it. But because you are asking that broad question and because the scaffolding is there, you now have 100% of participation in the question. And I will say this, these type of questions, the more in-depth you get, you're not going to want to just call on a student. You are really going to want to make sure you're taking time to let the students talk. Right? Have you ever done any research about teacher talk versus student talk? Well, it's a real thing. The teachers should not talk more than the students. The students should do more talking. So this is the opportunity that now you have to give them to do more talking than you. If you've planned out your open-ended questions and you're going to ask them, you know that 100% of your students are going to be engaged because you're giving them time to talk. And they're going to talk around these 1, 2, or 3 essential questions that you've created for your lesson. And they're meeting all of the little questions, the closed questions that you would typically ask naturally already in the conversation, but now they're going so much more in depth with it. So it's just mind-blowing how much better the conversations get and how much more we can get to if I just go big or go home kind of thing. I'm going to ask the bigger questions rather than spending 5 minutes asking the small questions. So it's very much worthwhile. And I love turning and watching my entire classroom get, buzzed with excitement and talking. And every single one of them is talking or listening. And either way, they're learning, right? They're not learning from me. They're learning from each other, which is even better. So benefit number 4 for open-ended questions is that, of course, it enhances your critical thinking skills. And I'm telling you right now, if there's something right now that is a buzzword in education, it is critical thinking. That's why STEM is, all the rage and all the technology and all the STEAM and all of those type of things is because of the critical thinking aspect. Well, you know what? We can get that critical thinking going without the computers. We can get it going without all the manipulatives. I get that that stuff's fun too, but there's a time and a place for critical thinking with just our brains, with our brains and a piece of literature or a text or a passage or a word, whatever it may be. But let's get those critical thinking skills going without all of the buzz that, comes with the other things. Because, that's kind of step 1. And then eventually I want to get them thinking critically about, doing other stuff in STEM and whatever else. But it can happen with a piece of literature as well. So it really enhances when I'm asking those open-ended questions, I'm really getting those critical thinking skills heightened for my students. All right, number 5, and if you haven't already, make sure you say hi, that you're here. Super excited about tonight. Make sure you go grab your freebie. We're kind of at intermission because we're at number 5, so I want to make sure everyone knows that. I'm so excited that you're here. We are talking all things open-ended questions, and if you are listening right now, you're going to want to listen to the end. I promise you, I promise you. So we're on number 5. We're talking about the benefits of asking open-ended questions. So benefit number 5 is that it builds upon language and vocabulary skills. So this one is huge, especially if you have ELL learners, if you have students who are in speech or language for speech, if you have students with any kind of learning disability that revolves around language. This right here has so much power to it to really help build those skills. So you are going by simply asking a question, and they may not answer right away, but what are they doing? They're listening to their peers use the vocabulary that you're wanting them to use. They're using the language that you're wanting them to use, and then they're going to either regurgitate back, they're going to agree or disagree or add their thinking to it, again, using that type of language. So it's so much better for especially your ELL and your SPED students and those kind. It's better for everyone, period. And it builds so much vocabulary that they're not going to forget it, right? It's a natural thing to have a conversation. It's not a natural thing to have a call and response. So it really builds that vocabulary for our students. So you're going to see a huge increase in understanding with that. So number 6, benefit, again, number 6 is that it allows students to consider their own ideas, thoughts, and feelings. So for many students, schema is the foundation of reading comprehension, period. So it does not matter what they are reading, they're going to draw upon their own understanding, their own experiences, their own feelings. They're going to try to connect to that story. And in their answers, they're going to want to bring that in, right? How many of us teach, lower grade, first grade, kindergarten, second grade, and when we're asking questions to our students, they already just want to go ahead and add in, oh, my uncle has a dog like that, or, my whatever, right? They want to draw in because they're making those connections naturally. Well, when we ask an open-ended question, it allows the students to be able to build upon their schema and use those thoughts, use their feelings, and use their ideas to help build their answer. And so no more like, oh, no, Johnny, I'm sorry, I don't want to hear about your uncle right now. That's not what I asked. If that is a part of the answer and it helps answer the question, or it does support the conversation, that's fine. Let's talk about Johnny's uncle because it's included in the conversation, which is answering the question, which is building upon my objective. So you'll find a lot that that's why students who are maybe lower level do want to join in more because, they want to share about their uncle because that's the one connection that they made. That's the one thought and feeling that they made, and it does apply to the question. So let those things happen because it really helps things happen naturally. All right, I'm trying to think of what number we're on. Oh, number 7. We're on number 7. Number 7, when used well, so when you're using your open-ended question strategy well, it can be used to encourage collaboration, and it can teach students how to agree and disagree. So, like I said before, when you're asking these types of questions, you don't want to just have a call and response. I don't want to go to your free question guide and ask a student, if you were telling the story, how would it be different? Rachel, and she's the only one who gets to answer. That's not the point of this. The point of these types of questions, excuse me, the point of these types of questions is to get everyone's thinking going and generated and bubbling and wondering and, engaged. We want them engaged with the text, right? That's the whole point of teaching. So I'm not going to ask this wonderfully deep, open-ended question and then call on one person. So again, when used well, It's going to be used to encourage the collaboration that we want our students to have. And you know what? If you're strapped for time, a turn and talk can do that. That's fine. Turn, talk, let them go at it, let them converse, and then maybe share out some. I get that. But there are so many other ways that you can get your kids talking to one another more than just a turn and talk. I have a really great resource, by the way, in my TPT store. It's called Engagement Strategies, and it is over 60 different engagement strategies that encourage collaboration. And it is one of the best resources, I think, on TPT. And I know I'm biased, but I mean that. So if you are looking for more ways to just do the turn and talk, shoot me a comment and I will give you the link. That way you can go and check that out if you want. So anyways, open-ended questions used to encourage collaboration. And again, that agreeing and disagreeing, oh my gosh, right? We always are putting out little fires when we're having discussions because they don't know how to agree and disagree naturally. You know why? It's because they haven't been taught. They think that that's something that happens naturally. But you know what happens at home? Siblings bicker, parents bicker, parents and siblings bicker at each other, right? It's a natural part of life at home, especially in the evenings. So when they come to school, that's how they think arguments are sometimes solved. So we have to teach them how to agree and how to disagree. And what better way to do that than when we are actually in a conversation deeply about a text. So it's wonderful to use these questions to also check some other things off my to-do list. I'm teaching them how to agree, disagree, collaborate. We're just getting all the good things done today, right? It's great, and it's a great feeling when it all happens wonderfully. All right, number 8 is that students are, and this is research-based, this is not Mrs. Harris-based. Research shows that when students answer an open-ended question in a natural type of conversation, they are more likely to remember the answer. Their verbal skills, their thinking processes that happen, all of that, they are going to remember the conversation more than they would if they remembered I got called on and I gave a 2-word answer and it was the right answer, or maybe it was the wrong answer and I got corrected, or maybe I'm having to listen to Susie and she's giving the right answer. I'm not going to remember that, but what will I remember? What will help me? Annie says, preach, girl. I get it. What will help me remember is the conversation that I had with a few of my peers. And, I may have had the wrong answer, but I heard the right answer 3 different times from my other peers. And I won't forget that because I was engaged in the conversation. And the only thing that I had to share, maybe minute, it may have been small, but I shared it and I was engaged and I listened and I learned. I'm not going to forget that. So research shows they will remember it better if they have it in a natural conversation via an open-ended question. Okay, so we have 2 more left. I'm so excited. Number 9, this is the 9th benefit of asking open-ended questions. When you do this, it focuses so much more on the process of the answer rather than the answer alone. And I think you can tell that just by the way or how much time it takes to answer the question. A closed answer or a call or response type answer is, 2 seconds, right? Joey, what's the answer? Blank. Great. Let's move on. Right. That's all about the answer. That's all the teacher cares about. But in an open-ended question, there's so much more to the answer. It's about the process that it takes to even get to the answer. I may have to think through A, B, and C before I even get to D, and D is the answer. But you know what? What mattered more, D or A, B, and C? Well, all of it, really, but the whole process was the point. And so when we want our students, excuse me, to develop those thinking skills, that critical thinking, that was back to number 4, right? We want them to develop those thinking skills, then we've got to make sure they're focused on the process. And you know what? I just thought of something that I didn't add to the list, so this is a bonus. All that thinking that they're doing through these open-ended questions, guess how that's going to translate into their written answers. Yeah, you got it. Their answers in their writing responses, if they've been exposed to all this conversation and depth of understanding and all of this in reading comprehension, and they have to go do a reading response, what are they going to do? They're going to write like they've been taught to have a conversation. So you're going to see their writing increase and grow as well through all of this that you're doing in your lessons. Okay, so we are ready for number 10. Guys, if you are not on board with open-ended questions now, bye. I'm just kidding. But I know you probably were at the beginning. All teachers, I think, understand that these are important, but hopefully now you've got, so much more of a concrete understanding of why. And if you're, again, like me, like I said at the very beginning, I was very vulnerable. This was a weakness of mine. If I didn't plan my open-ended questions, they sometimes didn't happen. So plan your questions. That's why I made you your 4-page questioning guide to help you out in doing so. So number 10, number 10 is something we actually naturally mentioned at the beginning, so I apologize for that. But that's okay, because benefit number 10 is that when you ask open-ended questions, it gives the fullest range of possibilities that you can possibly have of that type of question. So closed answer, 1 or 2 possibilities. An open question may have hundreds. It may have 20. It may have 5, but it's more than that one. So more students have the ability or the opportunity to participate and go deeper in the conversation because of the wider or more full range of possibilities. So I have been talking to you, with you, for 30 minutes now about open-ended questions, and I hope you enjoyed every bit of it. If you are catching the replay, thank you for catching the replay. If you didn't get the full thing, you absolutely, at the end of this, once it's done, you can go back and rewind and listen to everything. But the most important part, of course, is to go over to the side and grab your freebie. I have typed up for you over 75 reading comprehension open-ended questions. That's a really long title. And they're categorized. So you can see here on the side that I have every comprehension skill and strategy you could think of on the side, and there are 4 different questions for each one. So when you're planning out your questions, you're going to plan them out, right? When you're planning them out, you've got a guide to kind of help you. Now, that does not mean you have to use just these, clearly. There are so many more out there. So use whatever you like, but if you're in a rut, you've got a resource, okay? I also put a link over to the side for my Facebook group. If you have not joined me, you're going to want to do so. I've got some great things up my sleeve for the future for that, so make sure you come and join. And, of course, my link to my Building Comprehension bundle is over there. If you are loving the conversations about comprehension every week, every Wednesday, I'm here talking about comprehension. If you are loving that, all of this is being embedded into those units. So you're going to want to grab that bundle, especially in the next few months before the price jumps up, because it's going to be done very soon. So the link to that is over there as well. All right. If you have any questions or comments or anything you want to say, let me know. I'm going to go back through and comment back and make sure I answer everyone's questions, of course. And I will see you all next Wednesday at 8:30 right here for the next episode of Adventures in Comprehension. I'm so excited, and I hope to see you next week. Bye, everyone.